The Bowling Green High School basketball tournament will get underway on January 27th, marking year number 100. Bowling Green's Elizabeth O'Farrell had the opportunity to speak with the oldest living male Bobcat to graduate from Bowling Green High School and the coach of the state championship team from 1962, Coach Gene Hall.
Okay, so when did you graduate?
In 49.
And once you graduated, where'd you go to college?
I went to University of Missouri.
Were you a PE teacher or were you a history teacher?
Actually, I have to preface this a little. My father owned farm at Eolia.
Right.
And lived at Eolia. So I came to Bowling Green to take FFA. But I also wanted to play basketball for Jim Wilson. So that's the reason I ended up in Bowling Green. And then when I went to college, my dad wanted me to be a farmer. I didn't want to be a farmer.
Gotcha.
I wanted to be a coach. So I majored in business and public administration. And then I in the business field for a year. And then I went back to Washington University and got my degree in education and became a coach. And first job was here at Bowling Green in 1958.
And you taught?
Physical education here. I've taught and coached here for 4 years, from 1958 to 1962. And then 62, I went to Lindbergh High School, St. Louis County, and then stayed there 1 year, and I knew the coaching job was available at Hannibal. So I went from Lindbergh to Hannibal then in 1963. Then I got my master's from the university in education and administration, and then became principal until 78, 15 years. And then I went to Culver Stockton and served until 2000 when I retired.
What did you do at Culver Stockton?
At Culver, well, I was the professor of physical education, and I coached several sports during that time.
And you retired in 70.
I was there 22 years.
So, let's talk basketball. If you were hired to coach a professional basketball team, and we had a time machine, and you could recruit any players who've played in the NBA to be on your team, what would be your starting lineup?
What would be my starting lineup?
Who do you think would make a great basketball team? And any time period, I mean, you can go from Oscar Robertson to LeBron James. Anybody you want.
Of course, I have to go back.
That's fine.
A long ways. Bob Pettit would be on my team, and Cliff Hagan would be on my team.
Okay.
That's of my era. Those guys are the ones, and Oscar Robertson would have to be on that team.
I'd pick him too.
Even though I didn't admire a lot of things about him, but I'd have to pick Will Chamberlain.
Yeah, you need a center.
I got to have a guard in there, and I think I'd have to go modern days now.
Okay.
I think it'd have to be Seth Curry.
I agree. And he's kind of a class act.
Yeah,
maybe he could even out the Wilt Chamberlain decision.
Yeah.
Maybe he could keep him under control.
Yeah.
You coached here from 58 to 62, and I don't really know the journey that the team took. And what I'd like to know is, of the young men who are on the 62 team, how many of them had been on your team all 4 years? Were they mostly 4-year members?
Yeah. See, I started coaching the B team my first year here, and then Jim Wilson retired in 1959, and I became the head coach for 3 years. So
okay.
That was my 4 years here in Bowling Green.
Okay.
And your question was, how many of those?
Yeah, how many of those 11 had you coached for, let's say, 3 years?
For 3 years. I guess all of them. Yeah, I had them for 3 years on the varsity.
I'm trying to remember how the system worked then. Was it still conference, district, and from district to the championship series?
Well, it began with regional.
Right.
and then sub-state, and then Final Four.
So you beat Clopton then in the sub-state game?
In the regional.
In the regional.
So it was regional, and we beat Clopton in the finals of the regional, 35-30 in overtime.
And after Clopton, who did you play then?
Now there's 2 games in sub-state, and we played Canton in the first game of the sub-state, and then in the second game of the sub-state, we played Assumption of O'Fallon, and then in the semifinals at Brewer Fieldhouse in Columbia, we played Richland of Gray Ridge, and then we beat Branson for the championship.
When you attended BGHS and Mr. Wilson was your coach, what kind of a coach was he?
He's the reason I'm a coach today. Jim Wilson was, he was next to the Almighty as far as I was concerned. Cotton and I worshiped Jim Wilson, even though he was hard-nosed old coach. He was dogmatic. He had one way to do it, and if you didn't do it his way, you suffered the penalties. We thrived on that, even though he had to discipline us many times.
What kind of discipline?
Well, for instance, to give you one example, we violated curfew, 55 minutes one time.
Ooh.
And when we got back to the hotel where we were staying, there was Jim. And Jim says, "You boys are 55 minutes late, and you got 5 laps around the gym for every minute you were late."
Oh, gosh.
So that was 275 laps. And we calculated that to be 13 plus miles.
Oh, gosh.
And we had to run those after practice on the next 2 days. We did those 13 miles in 2 days, just 6.5 miles a day.
What do you think the lessons that people learn in sports that can translate to their out-of-sports lives? What kind of lessons do you think come from being an athlete?
Well, I think, we always talk about sportsmanship and all of this, but I think that the lesson that I learned, and hopefully those that I coached learned, is that you always remain a competitor. You never give up. And I know it sounds like Jim Valvano, but that is true. Because if you're a true athlete, you learn competitiveness. And I think that that's one trait, in addition to the social aspect of it and how to get along with your fellow man and whatever. But we know those things. But I think athletics teach you how to succeed in life by being a competitor. And I still compete.
You'd said you came here for FFA.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came here, FFA was pretty big. And it has gotten bigger and then receded and gotten bigger and then receded. The gentleman who was the FFA sponsor here for as long as he was a great guy. Was he your teacher also?
I came here because of T.C. Wells.
Okay, and T.C. Wells retired.
And T.C. Wells, Bill Mallory took his place. And T.C. Wells was the epitome of authority.
I just have one more question, and that is, if you had to pick your proudest moment as either a coach or a player here, what would it be?
The proudest moment of being a coach or a player? Well, of course, the highlight of my career would be winning the state championship.
Right.
That's what we strive for. And so that is probably number one, but I would have to think that of all the people that I have coached throughout my coaching career, they all appear to be so respectable of me as a coach. And I always strive to set the best example that I could for my players. And I think that they realize that, and I feel so glad that I have the rapport with them.
As we celebrate 100 years of the Bowling Green High School basketball tournament, we'd like to encourage everyone to pack the stands all week long and share your